Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Breaking news for Jays fans. What if the Blue Jays could address their biggest defensive challenge without re-signing Bo Bichette, without diving into overpriced free agent bidding wars, and without sacrificing the long-term future of the roster as so many mainstream Toronto Blue Jays discussions suggest? While much of the attention remains fixed on headline names like Kyle Tucker or Alex Bregman, big, noisy solutions that dominate MLB coverage, there's a far quieter, far more calculated scenario being examined inside Toronto's front office. This isn't speculation or opinion, it's market logic. And if you follow this all the way through, it may fundamentally change how you view the Blue Jays' offseason strategy. This is Jays Nation, where the focus isn't social media hype or empty breaking news alerts, it's real analysis, MLB market behavior, roster construction, and decision-making grounded in how front offices actually operate. The Blue Jays have just experienced a moment that reshapes organizations. Reaching the World Series and losing in Game 7 doesn't create panic, it creates clarity. There's a massive difference between falling well short and getting close enough to clearly see what's missing. Teams that nearly win it all don't blow everything up. They don't act on impulse or chase narratives. They study what worked, identify what didn't, and refine their approach. That's why contenders don't behave like rebuilding teams. They stop chasing simple answers and start working in layers, protecting the present, reinforcing structure, and preserving future flexibility. Nothing is considered in isolation. Every move must connect to the next, because mistakes at this stage don't just hurt, they can waste entire seasons. That's exactly where Toronto sits in its competitive cycle, and it's why every major decision must be understood as part of a broader system, not as a reaction to one problem or one headline. The MLB offseason functions like a domino board. One move triggers another. A large contract doesn't exist on its own. It closes some paths while opening others. Once a piece moves, the entire landscape shifts. That's why decisions now must account for chain reactions, not just immediate lineup upgrades. If the Blue Jays can't align on a long-term extension with Bichette, they can't simply plug in a random replacement and pretend the roster exists in isolation. They need a solution that maintains offensive output, preserves competitiveness, and doesn't eliminate future options. This isn't just about talent, it's about fit, cost, and systemic impact. That's where a proposal circulating quietly in MLB circles comes into play, one that initially sounds bold but becomes far more calculated when viewed through Toronto's roster logic. The concept involves a direct trade with Philadelphia. Toronto acquires Trea Turner, while the Phillies receive Jose Barrios and Addison Barger. This isn't about swapping one shortstop for another. That surface-level interpretation misses the point entirely. It's about reallocating assets based on surplus and need, balancing immediate contention with medium-term goals. Strip away emotional attachment to names, and the framework begins to align with Toronto's current priorities. In 2025, Bichette and Turner produced remarkably similar offensive numbers, something rarely emphasized in Blue Jays coverage. Bichette recorded 181 hits, Turner 179. Bichette hit 18 home runs, Turner 15. Their on-base percentages were nearly identical. This isn't a drop-off, it's equivalence. The numbers support the idea that Toronto wouldn't be losing production, only preserving it in a different form. The trade wouldn't solve every issue, but it would protect what matters most for a team firmly in win-now mode, consistent offense. Where the board truly shifts is with what Turner adds beyond the stat line. He brings speed, real, game-changing speed, something the Blue Jays currently lack. Turner stole 36 bases in 2025, ranking among the league leaders, while Bichette stole just 4. Over his career, Turner has posted 7 seasons with at least 30 stolen bases and consistently ranks near the top in triples. For a lineup already strong in contact and power, adding a player who pressures defenses, creates chaos on the bases, and turns singles into extra bases transforms the offense without requiring a full rebuild. In a deep Toronto lineup, his RBI totals would likely rise naturally, not because he changes, but because the environment elevates him. From a structural perspective, this move isn't reckless. Despite an uneven 2025, Barrios still made at least 30 starts for the 5th straight season. Durability matters, especially in an era where it's increasingly rare. For a Phillies team facing rotation uncertainty and questions around Zach Wheeler's early season availability, Barrios isn't a savior, he's a stabilizer. He provides volume, reliability, and breathing room. Barger, meanwhile, represents optionality. He's versatile, posted 21 home runs and 32 doubles, and can move across the infield and outfield, exactly the type of flexible asset competitive teams like to develop. For Toronto, the key takeaway is this: the trade doesn't block elite prospects, doesn't burn draft capital, and doesn't eliminate future maneuverability. Turner's long-term contract functions as a bridge between the current competitive window and the next phase of the roster. He doesn't clog the system, he organizes the timeline. That's structure, not improvisation, and it's the kind of discipline the Blue Jays front office is clearly prioritizing. Is there risk? Absolutely. Turner's contract is significant, age is a factor, and speed, his defining tool, doesn't last forever. If that edge fades, some value disappears. Moving Barrios also thins rotation depth. No decision at this level comes without cost, but this is where asymmetric risk matters. The downside is measurable and contained. The upside keeps the team in the same competitive tier while adding an element they currently lack. This isn't reacting to headlines, it's calculated, organizational thinking. Ultimately, this trade isn't about Trea Turner, it's about how winning franchises operate. The Blue Jays wouldn't be responding to the loss of Bichette, they'd be planning for multiple outcomes, staying competitive now while remaining flexible later. Good teams gamble, well-run teams build parallel paths, and that's exactly what Toronto's direction appears to be signaling. So the real question is this: if you were sitting in the Blue Jays front office, would you prioritize maintaining the same offensive profile while adding immediate impact? Or would you bet on internal solutions and preserve assets for the future, thinking like an executive, not a fan?